everyone, and welcome to today's deep dive.
Where we are going behind all those headlines.
Okay.
And we're really going to unpack this year's African Youth Survey.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about a generation on the verge of changing the world.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot to uncover, so let's just jump right in.
Sounds good. Yeah, this isn't just another report.
Yeah.
It's a window into how the future of a continent sees its opportunities and its place on the global stage.
And that's what I find so fascinating about this particular deep dive.
Yeah.
We're not just looking at the statistics. We're really trying to understand the motivations, the dreams, the challenges that are shaping these viewpoints.
Absolutely. For example, the survey tells us that by 2050, more than a third of the world's youth will be in Africa.
A third.
That's mind-blowing. It makes you realize the sheer scale of the potential we're talking about.
Yeah.
The economic force, the cultural influence.
Exactly. This is a generation that will be shaping global trends, driving innovation, and challenging existing power structures.
But digging into the survey, it's clear that this future
Right.
isn't guaranteed to be smooth sailing, right? We see this really interesting tension between optimism and concern.
Right. You've got a strong sense of Afro-optimism with 37% of young people feeling positive about their country's future.
Okay.
But a larger group, 43%, expressing negativity. That gap alone speaks volumes.
It makes you wonder, like, what's behind that gap?
Sure.
Is it different experiences in different countries?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Take Rwanda, for example, where a staggering 91% of youth are optimistic about the future. But in Nigeria or South Africa, that optimism plummets.
Yeah.
It's directly tied to their realities.
Right.
Economic forecasts, recent events, political climates.
It reminds me of the protests that rocked Kenya recently, fueled by that controversial tax bill supported by the IMF and the World Bank.
Right.
Those protests felt about something bigger than just taxes.
Exactly. It tapped into a deeper concern highlighted in the survey.
Yeah.
A worry about foreign influence, specifically from countries like the U.S. and China.
Which 72% of the youth surveyed actually see as a continued form of colonialism.
That's a powerful statement.
It speaks to a desire for agency, for self-determination.
Right.
They want collaboration, yes, but on their own terms, not dictated by legacies of exploitation.
And it's not just about international influence either. The survey found that a massive 83% of young Africans are worried about something much closer to home.
Okay.
Corruption.
Corruption.
In fact, they ranked it as their top concern
Wow.
for the continent's progress.
And that desire for a fairer future, it plays directly into another major theme that emerged from the survey, access to the internet.
Right, because the survey found that a huge percentage, like 79% of African youth, believe internet access is a basic human right.
Right.
Which is really interesting to see it framed that way.
Yeah, it really highlights how essential the digital world is to this generation, you know?
Yeah.
It's their connection to education opportunity, like, global communities.
And this is a big but.
Yeah.
The reality is much more complicated. Because when you look at the actual numbers, only 67% said they have regular internet access.
Right, and even satisfaction with things like telecommunications is dropping.
Right.
It highlights this huge disconnect between what they see as essential and their daily reality.
And I imagine that access and that satisfaction varies greatly from country to country.
It does, which just, further complicates things.
Right.
For example, in Rwanda, 95% of the youth are satisfied with their internet.
Right.
But in Cameroon, that number plummets to only 28%.
Wow.
So it creates this digital divide that mirrors a lot of the economic inequalities within Africa.
And with that divide, you have to think about the rise of another issue. The survey highlighted fake news.
Fake news,
Almost half of young people,
wow,
44%, say they're encountering it online multiple times a week.
Which raises this critical point.
Right.
If you believe the internet is a fundamental right, and yet it's also a space that is rife with misinformation, how do you navigate that, especially as a young person trying to build your future?
That's such a good point. They're digital natives.
Right.
Incredibly tech savvy. But also potentially vulnerable to manipulation.
Yes.
And that has ramifications beyond just being annoying.
Absolutely. It can have very real and very dangerous consequences, undermining democracies, fueling social divisions, making it even harder to access accurate information and make informed decisions.
It's a lot to unpack, this mix of huge aspirations alongside these very real and complex challenges. It makes you wonder, where do they go from here? What does the future hold for this generation?
Well, despite all of those challenges, what really shines through in this survey is this profound sense of resilience and ambition. For example, a remarkable 71% of these young people said they plan to start their own businesses.
71%. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Talk about an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
But again, how do they overcome, the lack of resources, the corruption, all of those obstacles we've been discussing?
That's the question, isn't it? The survey acknowledges those very barriers, especially, a lack of access to capital as major roadblocks to achieving their goals.
So it's like this catch-22. They have the drive, they have the ideas, but they often lack the tools to make those dreams a reality.
Right.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening.
Yeah.
But it also leaves me feeling like we need solutions.
Sure.
What can we actually do with this information?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be aware of these issues.
Right.
It's about channeling that awareness into action.
Okay.
And there are some really concrete steps, I think, that we can take.
I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Okay, for starters, we can support those organizations that are already doing some fantastic work on the ground.
Okay.
There are countless initiatives focused on fostering entrepreneurship, providing microloans, empowering young people across Africa.
Yeah.
Donating to or even volunteering your time or skills to these groups can make a real difference.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about the African diaspora.
Oh, absolutely.
There are so many individuals who are making a real impact from abroad.
Absolutely. And that's another really powerful avenue for engagement.
Yeah.
Connecting with and supporting diaspora initiatives that are investing in youth development, mentorship programs, skills transfer, can have this incredible ripple effect.
It's about tapping into those existing networks and really amplifying their impact.
Exactly.
What else? Are there other ways we can be more involved?
Well, we can all become more informed investors.
Okay.
By seeking out and supporting those businesses and organizations that are committed to these ethical and sustainable practices in Africa. We can, make sure that our economic engagement and empowers this new generation of leaders.
These are all fantastic takeaways. This deep dive has not only been so insightful, but also incredibly motivating.
Good.
And it really highlights the importance of, looking beyond the headlines, understanding the nuances of a situation, and recognizing our own capacity to be these agents of change, no matter how small.
Well said. The future of Africa, and indeed the world, will be shaped by how we engage with this generation.
Well said.
With their hopes, their challenges, and their incredible potential.
Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And a huge thank you to all of you listening. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But I hope it sparked a curiosity to learn more.
Yes.
And maybe even take action.
Absolutely.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this one final thought. We've talked about this tension between Afro-optimism and the very real barriers this generation faces. But as we conclude, I'm left wondering, what role do each of us have in building a future where that optimism isn't just a hope, but a reality lived by millions of young people across the continent?
Great question.